All praise, all glory, all honors, most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Peace to you in the name of Jesus. This is your brother Elisha Israel of the household of faith. And I count it truly a blessing each and every time that I can come before you to preach the word of God. Never do I count it as a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, forgive my tardiness. I'm a couple minutes late today. But I do want to talk about an ongoing problem that we see that people fall for all the time, but you know, you go to church, you don't hear too much about, and that's false prophets. They're rampant, and what brought it to my mind to deal with this today is something I read today, dealing with the so-called pastor talking about getting first fruits from people. You know, and I thought it was a new game. I looked more into it. It's something, you know, that's been going on for a while, that particular doctrine. And the idea is that, you know, they base it off of what's written in the Old Testament pertaining to first fruits. And that's supposed to mean that they're supposed to basically, when it all boils down to it, get your money. And they go to the law when it's dealing with money. Okay. But anything else in the law, it oftentimes, particularly if they are of the Protestant faith or Protestant denominations, will say that the law is no more, that somehow the Messiah, what we call Jesus, how he, in English, how he nullified the law. So I just want to read something before I get into these false prophets, because I'm listening to it, and it's funny that it's become a big deal to a degree, because this individual is an advisor to the president. So on one hand, you have a person who is misconstruing the scriptures in order to get paid. And on the other hand, you have some people, who are secular totally, and are using that, because that game is being played for political reasons. Okay. I don't care about any of that per se. What I care about is what thus saith the Lord. And the Lord is telling you about what first fruits points to, about what it's about. And it's not about you getting some money. Okay? It's not about you getting some money. And that's what these preachers and pastors are making a fool out of people. They are making merchandise of people. They are taking their money as they lead them straight to hell. Matter of fact, let me read this in Isaiah. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 55. I was going to go somewhere else, but let's go here. And Isaiah proposes a question. He says, "Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters. And he that have no money, come ye buy and eat. Yea, come buy wine and milk without money and without price." He says, "Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread?" So what he's talking about, what is he talking about here? He's talking about the truth. So he's saying, "Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters. Come get salvation." Okay, the word leads you to life, brothers and sisters. And he likens, oftentimes you see the word of God likened to something that is physical, that gives you physical nourishment, like water, like bread. Okay, but he said, hear the word of God. Then he says, "Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread?" And that's what people are doing. They're spending their hard-earned money. This person insinuated or put forth the notion that, hey, you know, how about giving your whole month's salary as first fruits? Then he broke down, well, it could be 1 week or 1 day, etc. But it's all about getting paid. Why are you paying somebody and supporting a ministry that is not biblical? Why are you doing that? And that's what people are doing. They are paying for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfied not. Hearken diligently unto me and eat ye that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. Get the true nourishment of the word. It says, incline your ear and come unto me, hear in your soul. It says, listen, incline your ear and come unto me, hear and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. God is speaking to you through his word. The Most High is speaking to you through his word. He's telling you what you should do. And he has sent men to tell you what you should do. What thus saith the Lord. But you have many, even in these last days, that will come to deceive you. Let's read in Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. Because here, the disciples of the Messiah asked a question concerning the signs of his coming. So that it says in Matthew 24:3, it says, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? Now, the things be they were referring to was the temple. They showed him the buildings of the temple. He said, hey, it's going to come a time where there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. So they said, tell us, and they went to him in private and said, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? What does he say? First thing comes out of his mouth. It says in verse 4, and Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Take heed, be careful that you are not deceived. It says, why? For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. They are deceiving many, even though they are going to say that he is Christ. Now, when he was on the scene, he was persecuted. It was ridiculed. They were killed and martyred and imprisoned, right? Didn't we tell you not to speak or preach anymore in his name? Right? But prior to his coming, they're going to be talking about the Messiah or Christ. But they're going to be leading people astray. Just like those who would talk about Christ and lead you astray for some money. Now, verse 11, he says it again, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. The whole world is deceived. The whole world is deceived, going after false doctrine. You read in Revelation about the woman with the cup full of abomination and filthiness of fornication. That's Roman Catholicism has made the world drunk. Out of Roman Catholicism, who she is the mother whore, all her children, little whores, Baptists and Episcopalians, Apostolics, they all come, Lutherans, they've all come, Calvinists, they've all come out of that mother whore. And so they will put forth the doctrines that are antithetical to the word of God. And now what do you have? Now what do you have? You have some that they would even tell you that the law is no more, but they will go to the law to talk about some first fruits and separate that from the tithe. So now they want your first fruit. First of all, now let me go back. They want their offering. You go to these churches, they got 1, 2, 3 offerings. I remember growing up, going to a church, and the man literally, he was one of them old school pimping preachers. He had, he had the mink coat, he had the gold chain, he had the jewelry, he had the bling. The church bought him a huge house, bought him his wife cars. He literally in his church lined people up. I want hundreds and 50s here, 20s and 10s here, 5 and 1s here, and don't bring me no change. I remember putting in a nickel in there and getting mean mugged. This was one of my brothers. This was my cousin's church. This wasn't the one I frequented, was forced to go to as a child. But now they've just taken it to a whole nother level. And it's nothing new we're gonna find out. But now they want $60 million or $60 million plus for a private jet. Because the demons are on coach, right? Heard one minister say that, the demon, it's bad spirits on coach. I need a private jet. Well, so you can pass land and sea and make them 2 for more child of hell than yourselves? Hypocrite. You will go all over the world and preach this false doctrine. Let's go to Matthew 7. Because the Messiah continually warned about these men, these ones that will come in falsehood. This is Matthew 7, the gospel according to Matthew chapter 7 and verse 15. He said, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. So they don't look like they're coming to destroy, but that is what they will do. They will destroy. How do you know them? How do you know a false prophet? Verse 16, ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? He says, even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. You will know them by their fruit. See, you will know them by the words that they speak. Let's go to Hosea, the 10th chapter. See, it's about, let's see what fruit he's talking about here. This is Hosea, the 10th chapter. We're going to pick it up at verse, let's go to Hosea 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 12. Because it says something, well, verse 13, it says something about what Israel has done. They become an empty vine. Then it says, in verse 13, ye have plowed wickedness, ye have reaped iniquity, ye have eaten the fruit of lies. See, you ate the fruit. You'll know them by their fruit. So you've eaten the fruit of life, and that's what they will come to you with. Matter of fact, let me show you something here. Let's go to Genesis. We'll go to Genesis just so you understand. Genesis, the book of Genesis, chapter 3. And I'm going to pick it up at verse 6, because here in the Garden of Eden, you have Eve. And then the serpent comes unto her. And it says in verse, I'm going to pick it up at verse 1. It says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye should not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. Now, these are physical trees. He said, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. What is that talking about? That's talking about communion with Satan. See, man had a choice. You had God right there. You had God, who, when you understand at this point, the one they were communing with directly was the one that we call Jesus. Okay, so it says, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. Basically saying, we weren't supposed to commune with you, because the tree of life was there. Who was that? That wasn't a literal tree, just like you see old pictures in Adam and Eve. First of all, they white, which we know they weren't white. Then they eating an apple. You don't read an apple. This fruit, this is an allegory. It's telling you what they were doing. It wasn't talking. You see a snake. This wasn't a literal snake. This is Satan in the garden. Hold your finger here. Go to Revelation 12, just so you know that's Satan. Revelation 12, and we're going to pick it up at verse 9. And we're going to read Revelation 12 and verse 9. It says, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. He's under the chains of darkness on this earth, as Peter said, walking to and fro, seeking whom he may devour. He came in the beginning right here to deceive man. Okay, Eve was deceived. Adam was not deceived, but Adam went along with it, therefore complicit in it. Guilty. So it says in verse 4 of Genesis 4, because I told you to hold your finger, it says, and the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. Now, God told him, In the day you eat thereof, thou shalt surely die. Satan comes and says, ye shall not surely die. See, that's some fruit. That's the fruit of lies, though. That's what they ate. That's what these ministers are giving. He says, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also to her husband with her, and he did eat. This wasn't a literal tree, brothers and sisters. Rather, she communed with Satan instead of communing with God. Because had she communed with God, she would have become, there would be no, man would not have died. Rather, they'd go straight to being God. Just like Enoch. Enoch didn't see death. See, oftentimes, God will show you an example of what could take place. But let's go to 2 Corinthians, the 11th chapter. 2 Corinthians, the 11th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Because Satan is not coming to you directly like he did with Adam and Eve, right? Or like he did with the Messiah, appearing to him directly. No, he's not coming to you like that, but he has some that will come unto you. And Paul warns us of them. This is 2 Corinthians 11 and verse 1. It said, "What to God ye can bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me." Let me stop and just mention something else. And because you will listen to people like this minister, so-called pastor, you will listen to, and some of the things they are saying is right. Just like Satan. Just like Satan. When he said, "Ye shall not surely die, for God does know in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be open, you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." That part was true, but the part about you not dying was a lie, because they died in that very day. Because Adam, he lived to be 930 years, but the day of the Lord is 1,000 years. Methuselah, 969 years, he couldn't make it out that day. So he mixed the truth with the lie, which adulterates, it makes it a lie. Okay? Same thing with these ministers. They will say, and I often listen to them. I listen and see and watch them go right off the cliff, go way off. They're not even in left field. They out of the ballpark. They'll be on court and they'll wait for it. It's like you watching a video, something funny about to happen, and they put it at the bottom, just wait for it. That's what you say. Wait for it. Only it's not funny because you got the multitudes being led astray. You got the multitudes being led astray. Wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth them to destruction. And many there be that go in there. And these false ministers and teachers and pastors and preachers and so-called bishops and apostles, they are ushering them in. Come on this way. They ushering the people. I mean, multitudes of people to hell, down the path of destruction. Come on this way. They telling people just like the sheep. They just like the sheep. They going that way, and they wolves. They lead you to the slaughter. And Paul is warning the congregation here at Corinth. He says in 2 Corinthians 11 and 1, "Would to God you could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me. For I'm jealous over you with godly jealousy. For I've espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Christ." Right? You're part of his church. The congregation, the church that started, as Stephen tells us, in the wilderness is the people. The church is the bride of the bridegroom. The relationship between a man and his wife is similar to the relationship between God and his church. He even says, you read, "I am married unto you." But let's go to verse 3. He said, "But I fear lest by any means as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety." We just read about her being beguiled. He says, "So your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Christ." And he tells you how this could take place, how one could be deceived. He says, "For if he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or if ye receive another spirit, which ye have not received, or another gospel, which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him." What's another Jesus? The Jesus that said he's going to accept you In spite of you, he knows my heart. Yeah, your heart is wicked and you have to change. He says, be ye perfect. So you have to be striving for perfection. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. He's not telling you that the law was done away with, but that's the Jesus they give you. They change how he looks. Then see, with that false image of Christ comes this false doctrine as well. He born on December 25th. He says, don't judge, right? Don't judge anything. You can't judge. You can say, hey, you know, homosexuality is wrong according to the Bible. Hey, don't judge. What? What are you talking about? He said, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass on the law till all be fulfilled. Well, I said, I didn't come to destroy the law, but to fulfill. He didn't come to destroy the law. Matter of fact, if he is our example, if you think about it, he was without sin. We should be striving to be without sin. Of course, you can justify through him. Having faith in his blood, you can gain salvation. But you also have to couple that with obedience. You can't just believe and then do whatever you want to do. The devils believe and they tremble, they going to hell. Hell was prepared for the devil and his angels. So he says, for he that cometh preaching another Jesus whom we have not preached, or if you receive another spirit which you have not received, or another gospel. And that's this other gospel, the gospel of prosperity. Because only a gospel of prosperity wants your, they are making merchandise of you. They want your tithe money. They want a goodwill offering. They want a free offering. Right? They got ATMs in the church. This church is around where I stay. They when you go in there, you call yourself want to be a member. They say that's fine, but we're gonna need your W-2s. We need our cut. Just like the IRS need their cut. They say, hey, we need our cut. We need our cut. Like what was that church? I forgot what city that was. That one elder lady had become ill and stopped going because of her illness. She shouldn't have been going there anyway. She probably didn't know. But she was up in age. She was an elder, and she got that letter in the mail and said, hey, you are no longer a member. Right? It might have been because she hadn't given an offering, hadn't been there for a while and wasn't tithing. See, these people, and they'll be slick too. They'll make an investment. You know, they might give somebody some money in front of everybody, make it a spectacle. So now you said that's an investment. If you give somebody $1,000, that's $1,000. But that, first of all, how much money is that person going to give? That person will probably never leave that church. So if that person makes $50,000 a year and tithes $5,000 for 20 years, do the math. It's an investment. And then how many people are going to know about that? I mean, one brother told me a story about how when he was in a false church, the brother has since coming to the truth, he was in a false church and the man gave, big time preacher out here, gave him some money. You know what kind of impression that makes? And everybody in front of the church, everybody know it. You know how that's going to spread like wildfire? They really care about us. He gave some money when they were in need. They don't care about you. That's an investment. That's like when you a pimp and you buy a prostitute. I'm not calling this brother no prostitute, so let me get that clear. But I'm saying it's similar in the sense of it's an investment. When you would give a prostitute some clothes to wear, get her hair done, but then you go out because you understand that's an investment. Because if she's looking good to the one who would deal in prostitution or that harlotry, she's gonna make you more money. See, it's a game out here. But he tells you about these people who are come preaching another Jesus and another spirit and have another gospel, like this false prophet talking about first fruits. Talking about first fruits. Yeah, and then gonna say, yeah, I know this is the beginning. Talking about the calendar, the God's calendar, but also, yeah, this is the first of the year, so it's time to give first fruits. You know, like we give all our money in January, all salary. So, okay, so you give all the money that these people, we don't know what you do. You saying you give all this, you give all the money that all the people give you, you get that back. You get it right back. Like it's a game. It's a game. And our people are spiritually dead. Sometimes I'm in awe of who we would follow. I'm talking about us as a people. Just common sense should tell you not to follow some of these charlatans. But it says in verse 13, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. They false, like he said, they shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, saying he the Christ, and shall deceive many. Because they're talking about Jesus. Jesus gave him all the money. Jesus gave him the mansion. Jesus gave him the Bentley. You just hating. You just jealous. See, he's blessing me. That's a game. That's a game. Of course, you're going to have all the money. If I get 5,000 people to give me 10% of their earnings, yeah, I'm going to be wealthy. It says, for such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. See, one thing about it, though, in order to do that, you have to compromise yourself. You have to misconstrue the scriptures because you can't tell the truth. You can't tell the truth and expect for the multitudes to love you. This world is in darkness. But you can make some money telling a lie. You can make a lot of money. So he said, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into the angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So now, understand that Satan has ministers. And these ministers look righteous. Just like Satan looked like something to be adored, an angel of light, but he brought death. He was father of lies. Man has been dying ever since. This world is in a terrible state. From that one point. You have to ask yourself the question. Why in the world would somebody lie to you? Let's go to Isaiah. Because this is nothing new. The Messiah, Master, he warned of it. Paul the apostle warned of it. But the prophets warned of it as well. Why would somebody do this? Why would they lie? See, this isn't a new thing. This is Isaiah the 56th chapter. Isaiah 56. It says in verse 10, his watchmen are blind. Now you read in Ezekiel, the Lord tells him, I have made thee a watchman. Basically warning people of me. If you don't warn them, they're going to die their sins and their blood going to be on your hands. But if you warn the people that they don't do it, they're going to die, you've delivered yourself. The watchman was in a tower watching over the horizon for the invading army for trouble and would sound the alarm and warn the people. That's what a man of God would do. That's what the prophets came to do. They would warn the people so that they could flee from their sins. Just like Samuel came and said, do you come in peace? Because he was a man of God. Are you telling us of some impending danger? Are we out of pocket with God? Tell us what the deal is. Then you get to Jeremiah's days and they ask him, what thus said the Lord? He tells them what thus said the Lord. They say, the Lord ain't spoke to you. Or Micaiah, how they beat Micaiah. How they killed Zechariah. Which one of the prophets haven't you persecuted? But nevertheless, he said his watchmen are blind. Talking about these false ones. He said they are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. See, you have a dog that's a watchdog. He's supposed to sound the alarm. You got a good watchdog. He not letting nothing pass. He's sounding alarm on everything that's not right. Everything that look like it might not be right. He's sounding alarm. 4 o'clock in the morning. What that dog barking at? Hey, something ain't right. Something ain't right. I remember that same cousin I was talking about that had the church, they used to go to the church, they had a dog. They had a dog. They had a dog, and that dog was the best watch. That dog was extremely intelligent. And that dog was the best watch. He lived in the hood. It was bad over there. You talk about a whole generation of young people our age got killed, but that's a whole nother thing. But that dog watched. He watched. You want if you ran up in that house, you were gonna have a serious problem on your hands. But these dogs, they said they are dumb dogs. Meaning they can't bark. They can't sound the alarm. It said they cannot bark sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. So now they sleep. The world in darkness, they got their eyes closed. They sleep. They don't have the light of God. Now they sleep. And the whole world is drunk, sleep, in darkness. But he says something, yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. So not only are they asleep, they're greedy. They want that money. Money cometh to me now is the mantra, is the cry. It says, yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. The shepherd, brothers and sisters, is supposed to lead you in spiritual matters. The people, I'm telling you, the people are like sheep. I read these questions. The people are like sheep. You see what people do. You see what they fall for. They're just like sheep. Sheep will go wherever you lead them. So it says they cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone to his own, everyone for his gain from his quarter. See, it's all about money. It said, come ye say, I will fetch wine and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day and much more abundant. So they just spreading false doctrine and they getting paid. Let's go to Micah, the 3rd chapter. Because Micah the prophet tells about what Israel was doing in his day. Isaiah said, man, they greedy dogs. They can't get enough. See, it is profitable to deal. See, that's a lot of times. If you think about it, that's why a lot of people preaching. A lot of people preaching to get money. It's an easy hustle. A lot of them are ignorant, get into it, and become corrupted because you can't keep reading. You got to look through this book. And see, they know they're lying. But they choose to lie anyway to get paid. They know the stuff going on. This is Micah the 3rd chapter and verse 9. So now here we see what's going on in the days of the prophet Micah. And this behavior is detrimental to the people. It's detrimental to the nation. See, if you look at our state right now, I'm talking about us as a people, Israel, who are black people that have been scattered into slavery all over the world. Our condition right now is a direct result of bad leadership, spiritual leadership in particular. Right now, you got a church on every block in the black community. And this black community looks like it has been bombed. No economic prosperity. The businesses there are owned by other people who exploit, who send their kids to school, who don't live in your community, who live in nice neighborhoods on your dime, who sell you inferior products, give you poor service. These same communities are occupied by a police force who acts like an occupying military, to consistently throw people in jail, to consistently write tickets for poor working class people of color, to keep the courts moving, to keep fines coming, to keep people locked up. These same communities, these same neighborhoods experience deindustrialization, right? So all of the industry is gone from these neighborhoods. These same neighborhoods experience joblessness and extremely high unemployment rates. These same neighborhoods experience high rates of economic and violent crime. These same neighborhoods experience fatherlessness through the roof, abortions through the roof. Illicit sexual behavior amongst the young, the middle, and the old through the roof. All these things taking place. You go into the schools, you have nothing but miseducation. And education relegating you, when you finish it, you graduate to service sector jobs or worse, prison. These same schools don't even have heat. I was looking at Baltimore. They got the little babies in the classroom with big, huge winter coats. And the people, working class folks, black folks mainly, because they do us like that. They in the school, they going off at the board meeting. They ain't nothing, we gave y'all the money, y'all just mismanaged. See, you got hell all around you. You got turmoil and pain and destruction all around you. And it is a direct result of the relationship that you have with God. You want to talk about mismanagement? You have mismanaged the relationship between you and your God. You need to turn back to God in sincerity and in truth. That's what we need to do as a people. But what do these false, hypocrite, lying ministers do? They keep leading us astray with this false doctrine, with this slave religion, with this adulterated version, this perversion of Christianity. So it says, and it's a consequence. See, you can't keep going astray and not think that there are going to be consequences. He says in verse 9, Micah 3:9, hear this, I pray you, ye heads of the house of Jacob and princes of the house of Israel, that abhor or hate judgment and pervert all equity. See, a fish stink from the head down. The leadership is corrupt. They build up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. You understand? If we, as much as we go to church, if we were really being taught in morality, our neighborhoods wouldn't look like they do. If we were really taught according to the instruction of God, you think you'd have high STD rates? Huh? You think you go to places in Atlanta and they got rates of HIV and AIDS as it's like sub-Saharan Africa? You think you have all this homosexuality going on? No, but they in the choir. They in the choir. They on the piano. They justifying that. They not calling people on their wickedness. They not calling people on their sexual sins. So it said the heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. See, it's all about getting paid. That's why they would do it. That's why somebody would come and lie to you in the name of the Lord. That's why somebody would come to you who don't even keep the law. We talking about some first fruit offerings on top of your tithes. Hypocrite. It said, therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field. Well, let me go back, because it says, yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. We blessed in the city. We blessed in the field. We blessed when we come and go. No, Negro, you cursed in the city. You cursed in the field. You cursed wherever you go. So it said, therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountain of the house as the high places of the forest. We would understand we are on an entirely new continent as a direct result of false worship perpetuated by men who put forth falsehood, false prophets, spiritual leaders who went astray, who led the people, led the sheep to these other false gods. Let's go to Ezekiel 34. Because here we see what they should be doing, what these shepherds should be doing. This is Ezekiel 34:1. And Ezekiel has a message to these shepherds. He says, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, thus saith the Lord God unto the shepherds, woe be to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flock? The man of God is supposed to be there for your benefit, trying to teach you, trying to lead you on a path of righteousness. Come this way. This is the way to salvation. And he's not supposed to be taking advantage of you. But see, people, well, we're going to find out why people go for a lot of this stuff. But it says, ye eat the fat, and ye clothe you with the wool. Ye kill them that are fed, but ye feed not the flock. See, you living high off the hog, as they say. You making out like a fat rat, as they say, while the people are suffering. They suffer of your negligence. I can't stand false prophets. They worse than murderers. Because a murderer, their murderer, as bad as that is, he'll kill you, and that's the end. But this one would lead you to eternal damnation. That's the second death, where the worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. So it says, ye eat the fat, and ye clothe you with the wool, ye kill them that are fed, but ye feed not the flock. The diseased have ye not strengthened, neither have ye healed that which was sick, neither have ye bound up that which was broken, neither have ye brought again that which was driven away, neither have ye sought that which was lost, but with force and with cruelty have ye ruled them. You see, if you're a shepherd, you're supposed to be caring about the sheep, so they don't destroy themselves. So when the sheep is lost, you'll go looking for them and try to recover them. When he's sick, diseased, spiritually, even with people, you'll try to repair that. See, that's what you're doing it with the truth, though. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Somebody fall, you're supposed to encourage them to do better through the truth, though. You're supposed to lead them in truth as you are led. But you're not supposed to make merchandise of them. Let's go to 2 Peter. Because that's what people are doing. This is 2 Peter. Second Peter, the 3rd chapter, or second chapter. Second Peter, the 2nd chapter. And here he warns of those false teachers amongst Israel. This is 2 Peter 2 and verse 1. It says, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you. So just like we read about the false prophets of old, in these days, in these apostolic day, when the apostles were on the scene, hey, there he's telling you they're going to rise up false prophets. Paul is telling you, who was an apostle to the Gentiles, he said, man, I am jealous of you with godly jealousy. Because he understood what was going to take place. It says, false teachers among you. Even as there, it says, but there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privately or secretly shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. See, you are reconciled to the Father with the blood of Christ, of the Messiah. And it says, and many shall, but some would even come denying that. And it says, and many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. So by these same ones, the truth is going to be evil spoken of. And it says, and through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you. See, with feigned words, with deceit, they are going to turn you into a commodity. They're going to get paid off of you. Let's go to 1 Timothy 3. Well, actually, before we do that, let's go to Isaiah the 30th chapter. Then we'll go to 1 Timothy. Isaiah the 30th chapter. Because people are not innocent in their deception. See, it's up to you. As I say in 1 Peter says, say yourselves from this untoward generation. You need to find out what the Lord requires. It said, you shall know them by their fruits. So you have to know what the word of God is saying. And how do you read it? Line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, by 2 or 3 witnesses, that the truth be established. So what God is telling you in his word, you find all these witnesses saying the same thing. We read about false prophets, right? It's some false prophets. We read all over the Bible about these false prophets. But he says something here about Israel and about their complicity in the lies. See, it's at a certain point, you have to be held accountable. So let me read this. It says in Isaiah 30 and verse 8, now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people. Talking about Israel, a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord. And we are the same way even until this day. But we have to come back to the Most High. But you go in these churches, they tell you the law is actually done away with. They fix their lips to even say that. That means your standard of morality is nullified. Therefore, you can't say what sin is. You can't say anything. For sin is transgression of the law. Whosoever sinneth transgresses the law. For sin is the transgression of the law. 1 John 3 and 4. So if there's no law, as they teach in so many of these false Christian churches, that means you taking sin off the table. You can't sin. That's crazy. So it says, these are children that will not hear the law of the Lord, would say to the seers. Now, the seer is another word for prophet. They used to call them seers back in the day. It says, in ancient times, it says, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. See, these Negroes, a lot of them want to hear a lie. They want to hear that the law is done away with, because if the law is done away with, now you can fulfill your carnal nature wholesale. Now you can fornicate. Now you can commit adultery. Now you can do whatever you want to do. All you got to do is say you believe, of course, give your offering, give your tithe, and you can do whatever you want to do. You can engage in pagan idolatry. You can do whatever you want to do. Like I heard somebody say today, he doesn't know any better. An older gentleman, we were discussing something. He said, man, these only 2 days I celebrate. Forget these days. Only days I celebrate is Martin Luther King Day and Christmas. I was like, man, what about the feast days, brother? You know, people don't know. But see, they at a certain point, though, when you tell them, they still don't want to know. So here you got the prophets. Prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy to see. See, at a certain point, brothers and sisters, you have to be held accountable for your actions. You got to make sure they're not lying to you. You do it with everything else. You want to find the right loan. You want to find the right deal. When it comes to you purchasing something, you want to buy a house or a car, you do your research. You go to school, get these little funky degrees, think you intelligent, think you educated, and I'm not down to going to school, but some kind of way, getting a degree has turned into you are more prestigious than other people. That's not accurate. And you have brothers, I've seen them, no brothers who don't have a degree, but are doctors, if you will, in this word. Right? And they might do a trade, making more money in their trade because they have a skill. So they make enough money. They don't require money through the ministry. But then you got some others who they got all these degrees, not making as much money, and are clueless when it comes to the word of God, but they got a PhD. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. But again, at a certain point, you have to be held accountable. So you would go, you do your research to get that degree, right? You want to go to the right job. So you want to do this, you want to do that. You do all your research. But then when it comes to the word of God, you just accepting anything people tell you. The reason people are accepting anything they tell them is because, again, they want to fulfill their carnal nature. It's easier that way. They want to believe, people want to believe a lie. The truth is hard. You tell people the truth, they've been lied to their whole life. You tell people the truth, cognitive dissonance sets in. For some people, they get angry, they get upset at the truth. And then others, that's just like, I can't tell you how many people I've told when, you know, they say, how was your Christmas? I don't celebrate that. You know, and they ask you why, you tell them why. Or people close to you say, hey, this Christmas is pagan. Well, you know what they tell you? I like it. And then you say, but you do realize, no fat white man came down the chimney and brought you no gifts, right? He didn't land on the roof with reindeer, right? You understand that, right? Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. I mean, it said right here in the encyclopedia. We can infer this here, right? I like it, though. So they'd rather believe a lie. They'd rather believe a lie. But at a certain point, you have to be held accountable. Let's go to 1 Timothy. Because, brothers and sisters, even the Bible, and everybody is at different levels when it comes to their understanding. But certain things you need to know. Like you need to know the qualifications of somebody who is an overseer or an elder or a bishop here. Because those can be used interchangeably. You need to know the qualifications and attributes, the characteristics that this individual should have. And you'll know them also by their fruits. But what are the qualifications? This is 1 Timothy 3 and verse 1. Paul writes, this is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. It is a good work. You lead people, but then it says something. A bishop then must be blameless. Okay? So he can't have some bad record. Amongst men, right? He has to be upright. It said a bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife. And that one there is the word mia, which means first. Just so we know that. Because that's misinterpreted. It says a bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. Okay? So he has to be vigilant, sober, of good behavior, hospitable, and have the aptitude to teach. See, you know it was good if the people were edified. Then it says, not given to wine. I mean, he's not a drunk. He said, no striker. He's not violent. Then it says something else. Not greedy of filthy lucre. He's not trying to get paid off of you. Now, the workman is worthy of his hire. But understand, this is not, you won't get rich from the people suffering physically, spiritually. These people out here suffering psychologically, dealing with addiction, and all you worried about is getting paid. That's a problem. Not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous. It says one that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? So he has to be able to rule his own house. And it says not enough, but you understand, he doesn't see, you have to look at things sometimes in context and understand these are letters. What I mean by that is you don't know what is being responded to. And ultimately, brothers and sisters, you know he's not saying, see, sometimes you read, well, if you're not married, you are disqualified. Well, Paul was a eunuch. And he was overseeing all those churches. See, sometimes we got to think. That's just like I was saying, when it says a one wife, if you look at that word, it doesn't mean one, it means first. That's a whole different thing. But nevertheless, that's another lesson. Nevertheless, it says, not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. So he can't be new to it. Moreover, he must have a good report of them which are without or outside, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil. Okay? So number one thing, so he has to have these characteristics, but you understand it has to be a man. I'm going to read 1 Timothy 2 and verse 12. It says, but I suffer or permit not a woman to teach. Why am I reading that? Because the one that's putting forth this made this big stir. Again, they politicized this thing. But it's a woman. He says, but I suffer not a woman to teach nor usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. He tells before that let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. It says in verse 13, for Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity, which is love, and holiness with sobriety. But you're not supposed to be teaching. You don't see that precedent of any woman, a priest, a bishop, a pastor, a teacher. You don't see that. You do not see that. You see prophetesses of old, but they were not over a congregation. They were not the head of a congregation. So you got a bunch of Negroes following. Well, you got people, period, following women. That's my pastor. That don't make sense. That's not biblical. He give you the order continually. Let me just read you one more place, and this will be it. This is Zechariah. This is the last place. Because it's going to come a time when these false prophets, they're going to be ashamed. This is Zechariah. This is in the future, brothers and sisters. This is Zechariah 13 and verse 2, and it says, it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall no more be remembered. And also, I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirit to pass out of the land. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, then his father and his mother that begat him shall say unto him, thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of the Lord. See, that's all they're eating up these lies now. But it's going to come a time when that's going to be no more. And his father and his mother that begat him shall thrust him through when he prophesied. And it shall come to pass in that day that the prophet shall be ashamed every one of his vision when he hath prophesied. Neither shall they wear a rough garment to do what? To deceive. Verse 5, but he shall say, so he's not going to say, hey, I'm a prophet. He's going to say something else. It says, but he shall say, I am no prophet. I am an husbandman, meaning a farmer. For man taught me to keep cattle from my youth. And one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thine hands? Then he shall answer, those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. See, it's going to come a time where shame is going to be upon him. It's going to come a time where you're going to have to pay for leading these people astray. Because it's not a game. People treat it like it's a game that they can just get paid. It's going to come a time you're gonna pay. And I'll leave it there. And that's beware of false prophets, brothers and sisters. It is always my prayer that you will edify.